1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running?
That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Jill, why didn't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Stacy on the Right.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. And I have to say, I typed in the chat room over at stacyontheright.com. I typed in find a successful person and do whatever they do. It's so simple. It is so true. And to point out how simple and easy it is and how true it is, you can find people who are successful telling you that that's what they did over and over and over again. They either had someone who was directly mentoring them, telling them what to do, or they were tired of trying everything themselves. And they thought, someone must have done this before me. And they found that person. And whether it was online or in person, they began to watch what that person did and do the same thing. Now, I want you to understand this. This is bedrock. It's foundational. If you haven't made up in your mind that you want to be successful, then no amount of talk or smackdown or, whatever will help you. But if you get sick and tired of blaming other people and watching, well-meaning white people saying, well, it must be the racism, the reason why the black people aren't doing well. We got to do something about the racism. And so you're sitting around waiting on that something to happen. You will wait your whole life. You will waste all of the beautiful God-given years that you have on this earth waiting for some white person to rescue you from the racism of some other white person, when all you had to do was say, okay, I'm just going to try one thing because I'm so sick of living in this neighborhood or working at this job. I want a new job. I'm just going to try one thing. I noticed that the favorite coworker here, on top of this, and that, because some people just have natural gifts. I mean, have you ever been around someone like that? I know I have. I have some girlfriends like that where they just have this bright, sunny disposition. They wake up with a smile on their face. They have problems. They have things going on, but their natural disposition is they're smiling and empathetic and caring. They're like living Barbies. It's kind of crazy. When you're around someone like that, it almost feels like you're exhausted because that person is so bright and sunny and you just don't have the energy. It's just not there. Well, why don't you pray to God and ask him to give you that energy? I have not always been this clear thinking and really just, I would say, upbeat. And I'm not always upbeat. I mean, You can ask my husband and the kids. I'm not always upbeat. There are times when I am down and I am really negative, and they will say, "Oh, mommy, that's not true. That's not what God has for you." Or, "Oh, mommy, that you sound really negative right now." I get that. My husband will say, "Uh-oh, what happened to you? What kind of day did you have? You seem like you need." And I'm like, "Yeah, I might need a nap, or I need to go out to dinner. I need, I'll start piling on all the stuff I need. What I really need to do is adjust my attitude." You don't have to naturally have that disposition. And it's not as simple as, well, I'm going to have a good attitude for 3 days in a row and all of a sudden my life is going to be hunky-dory. This is hard work. It means a change in your personality that you have to basically say, I'm taking this on. But if you want true change that lasts, you can't do it on your own. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Anything that we try to do outside of him by our own manpower or woman power is going to fail, and miserably. So if you want to make change, you have to say, "You know what, Lord? I need to make this change. I'm tired of being the one that nobody wants to help them at work. I'm tired of having a bad attitude. I'm tired of being exhausted. I'm tired of myself." Have you ever thought that before? I have. I've thought to myself, "Lord, I'm sick of myself. If I could take a vacation from myself, I would." And you know what the Lord does when you cry out to him? He answers. He's not like some other people in your life who you might cry out for them and they might come and they might not, because they might have something better to do, or they might just be sick of you as you are of yourself. God isn't like that. He's never sick of you. He's always ready to help, and he wants to do whatever he can do, which is everything. He wants to do that to get you where you're trying to get to. But I got to warn you, God's not a magic genie. He's not Aladdin. He's not anything like that where you just cry out one time and boom, everything is changed. It's a process, because in order for you to be changed as human beings, we need repetition and we need to get it ingrained in ourselves as a habit. And scientists talk about this same activity as the rerouting of pathways in your brain. So as a person, when we make new habits, we form new pathways in our brain. When those new pathways are formed, what happens in your mind is you now have these two pathways to go on. You have the new one, which is less formed. It's not automatic. You have the other one that's automatic. The other one is your bad habit that you're trying to break, and the new one is the habit you're trying to create. So you have to get up and make a conscious decision. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do and then after so many times of doing it, that new pathway becomes the primary, where you literally are on autopilot, namely what we were discussing before, to use the same example, that bright, sunny disposition that makes people want to ask you for help, that gets you, eventually it ends up getting you promoted because you're in demand. That is the process. That is the way we are made. Our brains are computers, supercomputers, and they cause us to take actions on a regular basis through our habits. And that's why breaking them can be so hard. And that's why it's called, in the Bible, they call them strongholds, where the enemy has gained a stronghold or a foothold in your mind so that a bad habit is your primary habit. And breaking that, it requires the word of God to break it. The word of God, you praying about it, and then you making a conscious decision to break that pattern. And I came up out of that I remember the first day I realized I maybe didn't have the proper disposition. I was at this store in the mall, and it was in the evening time, and I had been home with the kids all day, and I was pretty tired. And then my husband came home from work, and I wanted to go to the store because it was going out of business. And when stores go out of business, they sell the fixtures. And I thought I could get some of the hangers from there, because I'm so sad the store is going out of business. It's one of my favorite places to buy the Easter dress for the girls and myself. I would shop there once or twice a year. So I went to this store, and I saw a lady there that I'd known back when our youngest child was in, I want to say the youngest was like a baby, and one of the older children, our oldest child, who is 3 years older than the baby, she was the one who went to preschool there. And it was only over the summer. And so I knew the director of the center there for just that summer. And I remembered her being kind of sour disposition. And it was kind of an anomaly because she was working at a childcare center. And usually people who work at childcare centers are more upbeat than that. They're nicer. Why would you drop your kid off with someone who was sour? But this lady was the center director, so she didn't work directly with the kids all day. Anyway, as soon as I saw her in the store, I recognized her. And when I recognized her, I said hello. And she said hello in a very gruff, low voice, and she just looked miserable. And I don't know what was going on in her life. I didn't ask, which I probably should have said, is everything okay? But I just remembered her being kind of like that before. And so as I bought some hangers, and then I left there with my stuff that I bought, and it stuck with me that she was older, working at a child care center as a director, and she had that look of just utterly dejected. And I thought to myself, well, I end up looking like that if I don't change my overall demeanor. I don't know that I'm at the same level as she is, but I feel like there's something here for me to learn. Why did I see her? Why did I say hi to her and she just didn't even, like, what was going on there? And so I made up in my mind that I would smile more and I would do it on purpose. I undertook it as almost like a job. And every time I would take Madison to drop her off at the preschool where she was going, I would smile. So I'd start smiling in the parking lot, and I would smile until I dropped her off, and then smile all the way out the building. If I saw anybody, I would say hello. So she went there for a year, and then the next year she went to kindergarten. And so the next time I saw one of the ladies from the preschool was at Madison's elementary school, and she said to me, "You know what? It's so nice to see you. I miss your smiling face." And I looked so shocked. She said, "Every time I saw you at the childhood center, you would be smiling." I said, "Oh yeah, I remember that." She was like, "Yeah, I miss seeing you there." I said, "Oh, wow. Thank you for saying that." All day long, I couldn't get that thought out of my head because I'd made a choice to smile while I was there because I wanted to avoid being sour-faced, and because I'd seen that lady, that I'd bumped into her. So I'm telling you this story as an example of, first of all, if you're looking at me and thinking I just am this naturally upbeat person, this is 1 hour that you're seeing me. Or if you saw me at the old place, you saw me 2 hours a day, and you probably think, oh, she just always looks, No, I don't. But it is a conscious choice. They have actually done studies on people and found that people who decide to smile feel better because your feelings will follow the shape of your face. So if you frown while you're at work, your day is going to be long and slow and hard, and other people will hate being around you. If you choose to smile, you will feel better and you will have a better day. Now, I know this sounds like a bunch of garbage, but it's true. Even the Bible says that a merry countenance does the heart good. I mean, what are you going to do? I didn't write the Bible. Just believe it. Just don't fight me on this. So the city of Madison is wasting their time. Earthly efforts by man to bring unity among people that exclude Jesus Christ will fail every single time. You cannot bring unity among the brethren without first joining them together as the body of Christ, period. And I don't care if you believe me. I didn't write the Bible. I'm just telling you what it said. These people are they're saying things to try to fix something. He says it's important not just for systemic issues and policy, but for the effects the culture a predominantly white city can have as well. A predominantly white city that wants everybody in the city to obey the laws, pull their pants up, speak proper English, and be nice at work. That's white culture, or is that just good human culture? I'll let you decide. But the link to this ridiculous story is in the show notes. So now, let's talk about this cruise ship lady. And I did link in the show notes the video where you can watch Good Morning America did an expose on her about 4 years ago, I think. And it's a pretty good puff piece about her. They show pictures of her unit where she makes jewelry. She makes like needlepoint things. I mean, she's very busy, this woman. But over at theweek.com, they did a story about our luxury cruise ships, the new retirement homes. And they talked about, and I'm sharing this with you because I find it fascinating that, first of all, there's a doctor on the cruise ship, but there isn't a religious service that's regular on the cruise ship. Now, this woman didn't mention any of that, but as a person of faith, I would be concerned that if I lived on a cruise ship year round, does that cruise ship have, in addition to doctors and nurses, does it have a regular church service? Does it have a Bible study? Now, she's living on a ship. She's the only permanent resident on that ship. But there are other ships that you can do. First of all, Waxeter has written a book about living on cruise ships full time that you can buy. Her book is called I May Be Homeless, But You Should See My Yacht. explaining that she was stuck in a big empty house after her husband passed away, and instead of moving to a smaller home or assisted living facility, she decided to sell the house and start cruising full time. When she made this choice, she'd already been on 89 cruises with her husband and loved the lifestyle. So living on a cruise ship provides her with constant companionship, maid services, gourmet meals, access to 24/7 healthcare and entertainment. And she's visited more than 100 countries, and she's been around the world a number of times. And she still dances every day at 5:30. She's on the dance floor dancing with either the captain of the cruise ship or the cruise director. They dance with her on the dance floor for about a half an hour. The kind of traditional dancing. She's not out there twerking or anything. So the day before her husband died of cancer in 1997, he said, "Don't stop cruising." And so she didn't. So it's estimated that cruise ships had 25.3 million passengers in 2017, and between half were the ages of 50 and 74. And the cruise ship industry doesn't track those who live on board full-time versus the occasional traveler, but there are new ships being built to respond to this trend. Oceana Cruises created the Snowbirds in Residence program to let seniors live on board for 58 or 72 days out of the year so they can flee the cold weather without settling in to Florida or buying a second home. One of the largest private residential ships, called the World, provides 165 permanent residences ranging in size from studios to 3 bedrooms. Another example is called the Utopia. It is a planned luxury ship that will offer 190 full-time residences on board, ranging in size from 1,400 plus square feet to 6,500 square feet. You can have floor plans with walk-in closets, multiple bathrooms, private kitchens, living rooms. These residences look much more like single-family houses than ship cabins. But for those who can't afford the residences, Utopia will also have a hotel inside with suites on the same ship. Now, the question is, why do seniors choose these luxury ships if they have the option of living in a full-time environment like an assisted living? And we know how those are actually becoming nicer and nicer. They're building some new ones over by where we live here, and they're clearly going to be luxury. There are some luxury ones near us already to handle the boomer population, which is the largest group of, the largest group of people. So CNBC reports that if you want to take a cruise on Princess, it's about $135 a day. A day in a private room of a nursing home, costs $253. So when you compare the monthly costs, Princess Cruises adds up to about $4,200, and the private room at the nursing home is nearly $8,000. On the other hand, assisted living facilities cost $119 per day, which is just a teensy bit less than the day on the cruise ship. So there are potentially cost savings for individuals who choose to cruise year-round. But the healthcare access is the number one thing that's been cited by people who have admitted they're living full-time on the cruise ship. You don't have a doctor available 24/7 if you live in an assisted living facility. But if you live on a cruise ship, you have doctors and nurses available 24/7. Now, if you're chronically ill or have very difficult or multiple illnesses that you're working through, a cruise ship is not going to work. But if you're pretty healthy and you don't have too many chronic health problems, you could live on the cruise ship year-round. Now, I'm not recommending it, but I thought this was a fascinating story. And I just stumbled on it this morning, and I was like, I got to share this on the show today because this is like totally a departure from what we normally talk about, but it's cultural. And I think we're going to see more people take advantage of it. But clearly it's for people who are wealthy. You have a big house to sell and you can afford to spend $160,000 a year on your living arrangements. But it's everything. It's your food, your room and your board, no car payments, no gas to buy. I mean, it could work out. I don't know. I don't think I could do it. I like people too much, my own people. But anyway. All right, we'll be right back.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow, right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me, I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and, of course, companionship. Now, let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
Ah, the happy dance so common with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Stacy on the Right.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Don't forget to support the show on Patreon. It's patreon.com/StacyOnTheRight. You can also PayPal us. It's paypal.me/StacyOnTheRight. We appreciate you. When you give to the show, you're supporting keeping us on the air here. And I'm hoping to have great success over at LifeSet. I'm telling you that right now. I'm so excited that they have brought me on, and the people over there are fantastic. Like, we're having so much fun just doing just the beginning. So we're at the beginning and we're just doing the start. Like, this is the start of what we're doing. And to have it's just been nice to work with them. And you guys know how much I've enjoyed working with Noah on keeping the show alive after, the end of our relationship over at the old place. And it has been so fun. And so it's going to be fun doing this new thing with them. I think they are on the right track with something special. We're seeing a lot of changes in the national media landscape. And so there's just a perfect opening for us to come in with what we're doing and provide that content that people are looking for. So can't wait to do more of that. You can go to lifezet.com. I actually have a new op-ed up over there about Warren Buffett that you can check out. Okay, so go there. I will post it on Facebook, and then eventually, I usually like to leave it at the original place for a couple days. Then I post it over at stacyontheright.com, and you can check it out there. In the chat room over at stacyontheright.com, people were saying that they didn't see themselves cruising year round. I don't either. I haven't even been on a cruise yet, so I guess I'm not even in the target market for this. But I will say that I could, and I've told my husband this, and I don't know what the Lord has for me, but I always, I do like to hey, you know what I would love to do is blah. And one of the things that I'd love to do is to have a place in our favorite place on earth, which is the place where my husband and I actually met and got married. And that's the Fort Walton Beach, Destin area, that we can have a place there, or even a little further south than that, to just be able to go there. Even if it was one of those ones where you only had it for 4 weeks a year or something like that, I'd love to have that. I really would. So anyway, that's just like on the wishing on a star, what have you. But right now we're in the, hey, all of your kids are in tuition paying places now. So get to work. That's where we are right now. And no complaining. So you can find that at listen.stacyontheright.com, the cruise ship story. Now let's get to this transgender activist, Jessica Yaniv. She lost her Brazilian wax lawsuit in Canada. Now, first of all, yeah, I'm glad she lost. Is it okay for me to say I'm glad? Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you, people. You sound excited as well. Awesome. Yeah. No, it really is that good. It's that good that she lost. Yes, we should be happy. Common sense in Canada. Good for us. Okay. So seriously, you remember this story because we covered it here on air. It was about Jessica Yaniv, a man living as a woman who still has the male bits, and said that he wanted to have a woman do his Brazilian wax. Now, the woman might come to the place where he, so in Canada, Brazilian waxes happen in your own house. So here's the situation. I would call the service. The service would say, what time would you like and what service would you like? And I'd say, I want a Brazilian wax and I would like to have it this, let's say Thursday at 4:00. And they would say, okay, we have, Angela can come and do that for you. She will be there at 4:00 and, the service will take about an hour. Is there anything else you'd like to get? Maybe, whatever else you want, wax, your underarms or something, or, whatever else they do. And so I would schedule that person. And so the person would get the request, Angela would, she would see it in her little online database and it would say, Stacy, Stacy Washington, Brazilian wax, 4 p.m. And she would see by my name that I was a woman. And then that would be it. So the women who are doing these services are taking their own safety into their own hands because they're not doing it at a place where there are other coworkers around. They're coming to your house by themselves. So one of the criteria that these women have is that if they're going to do a wax, they need to know the gender of the person. Some of them will do waxing on men. Others of them don't feel comfortable. They don't want to. And that's their right because it's a personal service. And I've been there before. I think I shared it on air the time I went to, there's been 2 times I've gone to get something done, like a facial. Both of the times that I went to get that this happened, it was a facial. And the lady didn't want to do my face. She refused to serve me. So they went out of their way to give me a whole bunch of free stuff, which I never went by to pick up because I didn't want their free stuff. I wanted a facial and I didn't get one. And I didn't have to pay for it, obviously, but it was an embarrassing thing and it was a waste of my time. But it was her right to refuse to do it. Now, she didn't want to do it because I guess I'm a black person, but the point is she wasn't forced to do it. This is not similar because the face of a black person is not any different than the face of a white person for as far as a facial is concerned. You're still rubbing on the same stuff, wiping off, put the hot towel on there, maybe massage the person's neck as they're laying there, and you turn on the soft music while the whole thing is going on, and you get paid a ridiculous amount of money for cleaning someone's face. But this Brazilian waxing is basically one person's nude from the waist down, the client. It's very personal. It's the reason why I've never had one done, because I think it is absolutely ludicrous to have this done. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But if someone wants to do it, they should at least respect the person who's doing the service, their right to say they want to do, I don't want to do Brazilian waxes on men. I'm a woman. Other women don't mind. They'll come in, they'll wax anything. Just put it there, they'll wax it. So pick a woman who doesn't mind. So this guy, he says, I generally agree with this is the judge, Devin Cousineau, a far left human rights lawyer. Actually, hold on. I want to make sure I'm telling you the right person who said this. The official minimized, so it's a Canadian official, not a judge, ruled against this man who lives as a woman. He says he minimized the damage to Canada's pro-transgender laws by suggesting that women may need to provide the sexually intimate service to male bodies if they've been trained for the task. Quote, human rights legislation does not require a service provider to wax a type of genitals they are not trained for and have not consented to wax. There are differences between waxing the genitals of a person with a vulva and a person with a penis and a scrotum, said the deciding official in the quasi-judicial British Columbia Human Rights Tribunal. See, this is the problem with human rights tribunals. They're not bound by any laws or legislation or constitution. Thank God I'm not Canadian, because I wouldn't be long after this. I'd be trying to get into America so hard. 61-page decision implies that women will have to provide the intimate service to men if the Canadian Licensing Board requires cosmeticians to learn how to do the service. He says, I agree generally with the transgender plaintiff that a person who customarily offers women the service of waxing their arms or legs cannot discriminate between cisgender and transgender women absent a bona fide reasonable justification. He then added, there is no material difference in a cake which is baked for a straight wedding, one that is baked for a gay wedding, nor does baking a cake for a gay wedding require you to have intimate contact with the client. Taking another example, there's no material difference in renting a room to a gay couple or to a straight couple. Renting rooms out does not require intimate contact with the client. In contrast, in the context or case of genital waxing, I have found that there is a material difference in waxing different types of genitals, and that because of this intimate nature, service providers must consent to provide the service on a particular type of genitals. What the law requires is that having chosen to provide a particular service, they must provide that service without discrimination. For example, a person who customarily waxes vulvas cannot discriminate amongst their clients with vulvas, and likewise for a person who customarily waxes scrotums. However, human rights legislation does not require a service provider to wax a type of genitals they're not trained for and have not consented to wax. Cousineau repeatedly defended Yanev's claim that he is a woman and protected by pro-transgender legislation, amid plentiful evidence to the existence of Yanev's testicles. And I'm sorry I'm so sorry about this, but I'm just sharing what this says here. And we're using proper names here. So if you have kids in the car and they need explaining about what this is, I encourage you as parents not to hide from children the proper names of their bodies, not to use euphemisms for their body parts, and to talk about these types of issues with them on an appropriate age-based conversational level. Do not shield your children from talking about the proper names of body parts in context of their age and maturity level. Okay. So he goes on to, even though this so-called woman has male parts, he says, I accept that Ms. Yanev is partly motivated by her desire to fight what she perceives as pervasive discrimination against transgender women in the beauty industry. In that sense, her motives do align with CODE's purposes of eradicating discrimination and providing victims of discrimination with a means of redress. Further, if not for this application, I would likely have concluded that at least one of Ms. Yanev's complaints about arm and leg waxing was justified. Throughout the controversy, Yanev has insisted he is a woman, even to the point of claiming he suffers from period pains. Jessica Yanev, a man with male bits, tweets out, bleh, can't sleep, these cramps are awful. PMS, where did I put my Midol? He tweeted a picture of a cartoon uterus that is in a happy face. Cousineau echoed the transgender ideology by repeatedly downplaying the biology-based cultural preferences between men and women. For example, she reduced them from cultural differences to crude biological distinction by describing a woman as a person with a vulva and a man as a person with a penis and scrotum. But Yanev engaged in bad faith and so undermined the political standing of Canada's pro-transgender policies, said Cousineau. Ms. Yanev's overriding purpose was to manufacture the conditions for human rights complaints against unsophisticated and vulnerable respondents in order to secure a financial settlement and punish individuals involved. In a majority of her cases, she also added the motivation of punishing racialized and immigrant women who she stereotypes as hostile to the interests of the LGBTQ+ community. Far from advancing the cause of these people, Ms. Yanev's conduct would, if condoned, threaten this tribunal's integrity and its mission to foster an equitable, tolerant, and respectful society. To protect the pro-transgender law, Cousineau ordered Yanev to pay a token penalty of $2,000 to each of the three plaintiffs, despite many months of trauma and stress for the three immigrant women. Wow. Mizyanov, this man, actually hurt these immigrant women. The official said he kept the penalties low out of sympathy for Yanov, even though this man dressing as a woman harassed the women. Wow. So I'm sad for the immigrant women, but I think the devil is in the details here. Pay attention to what was said. If you consent to be trained to wax male genitalia and consent to do so, the training, then you will be required to wax male genitalia. So if you simply refuse to be trained, then you will not have to do it. People need to pay attention. Or, try something else. I got scared by I think a little bug flew by, or maybe it's my imagination. It's so disturbing that they're going to all of these lengths to try to protect someone who went out of their way to hurt people. People were hurt. These immigrant women were hurt. They didn't want to wax a man, and so they were hurt. And I just think it's wrong but again, what does it matter what you think or what is actually wrong? Because it doesn't even matter what I think, does it? It doesn't matter what I think or is wrong. What matters is what is right and wrong. We know what is right and wrong, regardless of my feelings or this transgendered person's feelings. What is right is to respect individuals' right to perform a service or not to perform it, even if you find their refusal offensive, which is why I gave the example before of the two people who refused to give me a facial. I don't think it was right, but it was their right to refuse, and I had no right to force them to do it. There you go. I know that, you know that day I was ticked off. I was mad, but that's what happened. These libs are into slavery, y'all. They want to enslave you and force you to come into contact with male genitalia to prove their point that men are women. Keep praying. And I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.